I don't like this path. It's made out of a bunch of shells, and I don't think it's a great material. Not when it was first created, or replenished should I say, only a couple of years ago, and not now. Back then, the shells were very uneven, and the surface was too bumpy to walk on. Okay for human feet and human shoes, but not for dog paws. A bit ironic given that this is in a dog park. And now, the small shell fragments that remain as a fine sharp dust, well, look ugly. Like a mix between bird poop and the diorite texture in Minecraft. So why use these ugly shells to make a not so great path? Cities and urban areas are wanting a big push to make them greener, metaphorically but also physically, and that comes with urban green spaces. Cities are very paved over, so the last thing that you want is for your pockets of greenery to look artificial too. Concrete or asphalt paths surrounded by nature don't really give the vibe of being natural. I did come across this path made out of wood chippings, which certainly fits the natural aesthetic and was actually really pleasant to walk on, but part of what makes this possible is that it's so small and not heavily used, because in cities this will require a lot of maintenance. Here it works because it's small and local, plus the wood chippings could actually be a circular waste product from the forest, where the wood from the occasional tree that gets cut down could be added to this path. So in terms of durable paths that don't perpetuate the vibe of being a concrete jungle, I think what you often see in many Dutch cities with these stones or bricks is better than concrete, but I don't think it's there yet. You could add some grass between stones on stairs, which is okay, and you can use small stones, which please do not use this is the worst path I've walked on, or you could go for an option which I don't particularly see often mentioned, which I think does an amazing job. Compressed sand. It's durable, it's great to walk on, it looks natural, and quoting one of my university lectures, we like sand because sand is cheap and sometimes free, though very unlikely in this case. And in my opinion, it nicely meets the criteria of looking natural. I think that's so important because if we compare this path, which is just in some residential area, to one in a protected nature reserve, I would instantly say that this area feels more artificial and less connected with nature, even though we are absolutely enveloped by nature. The argument for paving paths comes down to their higher durability and therefore lower maintenance costs. Although from what I can tell, the only way you're damaging this one is with a shovel, or a spoon. I guess a spoon also works.
Actually, you know what? I take that back. This is not making any dent whatsoever.
There are two things that have led me to think about the material of paths. The first one is this path that I sometimes take between my uni and the train station, which has like 3 distinct segments. The first one is this solid path with some tiny stones on it, which you could in some ways say is a very good path. The second part is the same but has more trees around it, but I'd actually say that the third section, the one that's worse, that isn't paved, is narrower, has parked cars right next to you, is actually nicer to walk on. Yes, it would be nicer if it didn't have the parked cars, but if you were to combine this path with the trees of the second one, I think that that would be the best situation, and it made me curious as to why that would be. The second reason is because of these concept images that I found for a newly proposed park in the center of Rotterdam. Talk about urban jungles, well, I think this might be one. I understand why they decide to go for concrete or some other grey materials for their paths because it's durable and hopefully they will get a lot of foot traffic. But to have all of your paths be these super wide grey slabs with a couple of trees super far away not producing any useful shade, I suggest, sure, if you really want to keep your concrete paths, then fine, at least add some trees around it so that the shade, which is vitally important on hot days, but add some smaller paths and make them go through the nature. Make them out of compressed sand so that they actually look natural. The last thing that I want is for this to look like a massive road with fields next to it, and
Oh look, there's a tree over there.
which hardly constitutes a park, yet this is what this concept image kind of looks like. Before this point, I would have never thought about the material that a path is made out of. Surely the surrounding areas, the trees, the nature, the sounds are far more important, yet I'm realizing that the path can actually make a huge difference. And as we're making a bunch of new urban green spaces, we have the opportunity to choose the paths that we put down, and I think we should try to make them look a bit more natural, given that that's what we're trying to do. That's all for now. I'll see you next time.